It's time for another episode of Secretly Frequencies, the podcast that meets labels and artists from the Secretly family and hears the untold stories behind their musical history. We'll be introducing today's guests shortly, but first it really is a true pleasure to welcome my co-host. Presenting with me for the first time, it is none other than Terry Cole of Colemine Records, one of my favourite people to chat with in the music industry. Terry has been running Colemine Records and all its affiliate labels like Karma Chief, and running one of the best record shops in North America, Platinum Records, for about 15 years now. He also loves driving for stupid amounts of time across the country. Terry, how are you doing?
I am absolutely wonderful. I'm here in beautiful Loveland, Ohio, and I'm ready to talk about these fools that I've known for more than 10 years.
Okay, yeah, so today's guests are old friends of Terry's, and indeed their first releases were put out on Colemine before later signing with Dead Oceans. They are R&B sensations Durand Jones and the Indications. They were formed in Bloomington, Indiana in 2012 and only ever really planned to play one show. And here we are, countless worldwide tours and 3 albums later, with a fourth, Flowers, coming imminently. It's been a whirlwind few years. We're really excited to have them on the show.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to talk with them. It's been wonderful to observe them from an outside perspective and see them grow as individual artists and as a collective.
Okay, let's bring them into the chat. Okay, well, Durand, Aaron, Blake, come on in. Let's get yourself settled and get prepared to dust off those memory cells. Do you think you're going to be able to remember all your own songs?
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get started. Let's hear that first one.
This road is gonna take us back now. You look so fine. I don't know how to act now. They say my child stroll off easy, 'cause when it's time, you're gonna hear what she says. Is it any wonder staring at me, girl. And when it's time, I see you holding on me, girl.
Yeah, that's Is It Any
Yes.
Wonder from your debut album, originally released on Colemine in 2016 and then reissued by Dead Oceans in 2017. So let's go back to the heady days of 2012 when you first formed the band. How did you all meet each other?
Well,
I came into the picture a little bit later into the game, and these guys had already started a rock and roll band that they were really doing their thing with down in the basements in Bloomington. And Blake was the sound engineer for this class, the IU Soul Review, and that's where I met Blake. I was singing in that class by chance, and yeah, he gave me a Charles Bradley CD, and that was really the start of our relationship.
And Aaron, how did you meet Blake then?
We met first day of classes in college at Indiana University. We were both studying audio engineering, and we had a lot of like musical overlap. We're both like really eclectic listeners, and so we were like bonding over like Dex Rom Weber and the Black Keys and stuff like that, but then also like tons of like hip hop stuff, and we both love like sample based hip hop. I remember talking about like the Recipe for Tasty Donuts mixtape, which is like a folder of all of the samples that went into Jay Dilla's Donuts. Even that sort of alignment of like loving soul music through hip hop, I do think like actually also helped lay the groundwork for what the Indications would become.
Right. So Blake, would you say that when you were starting the band that you had a quite a specific idea in mind of what you wanted it to sound like, or was it more of a turn up to a practice space and see what happens?
Yeah, around like that time, like 2010, 2011 is when I discovered Durand Jones and the Dap Kings, and I saw the album cover at Landlocked in Bloomington, and I was like, this seems really cool. And I was still into buying CDs at the time. I was like buying a lot of CDs, and I remember listening to that. And for a record that came out in 2010, but sounding late 60s, early 70s, I was really impressed, but also it was a feeling of like, I didn't know you were allowed to do that. You could just make a record that sounds like it's from a different era. And from an audio engineering standpoint, they were doing a lot of things like opposite to what Aaron and I were like learning in school. We were kind of taught a certain way to like mic a drum kit and that kind of thing. And Gabe Roth, the owner of Daptone, had made this PDF public called Shitty is Pretty, and it's kind of called like the art of lo-fi. And I read that down, and I was just like, wow, this is, and a huge part of that was like one mic drumming, where we learned how to you mic a drum kit with 10 million microphones. So one of the first projects I did was just me and Aaron in the studio trying every mic in the school's locker on a drum kit on its own and trying to make that sound cool. And even playing that for one of our professors, he was like, whoa, like this is crazy. And then using that as a basis for making a whole recording, because whether it's hip hop or whatever, like the drum sound is so essential to like making a cool recording.
Yeah, I mean, I started this label because I remember getting the second Sharon record at a record store in Toledo and being like, I didn't know you were allowed to do this. I didn't know you could do this contemporarily. And I still have that PDF on a hard drive accessible at all times.
Do you find that like your knowledge of having gone to do audio engineering at university and understanding the sort of like high spec ways of doing things, does it make it easier to like therefore break the rules? You sort of know which rules to break, but how to break them in the right way?
I don't personally. I think actually what I feel like I got most out of studying audio engineering was language to express myself and language to help when I'm working with my bandmates or other artists to try to like understand what they're expressing and create like a shared vision that everyone's happy with. But in terms of recording techniques, so many of the records that we love are like, they didn't, I don't know if they even knew what the rules were. So I don't think you necessarily have that same notion, like it takes a lifetime of painting to learn how to paint like a child. I think you can just get right in there and be brash. And like we had a professor named Paul Mahern who was really encouraging to us early on.
Paul has been a previous guest of the podcast.
Okay,
Paul.
he's on here. Shout out to Paul. Yeah, so cool. And I mean, he said he would rather have a recording sound like something than sound like nothing, even if that something includes like bad. And I think there's something to that.
Right on. Should we hear another song?
This one goes out to all the love people. Do I have love people in the building? I said, do I have love people in the building? Yes, indeed. Talking about that love. Yeah, yeah. That put a fire shut up in your bones, yeah. You know the love I'm talking about? Where you can't keep your cool. If you feel what I'm saying, say yeah. Yeah. I said it was you. Oh, baby. I said it was you. Met you, baby, my heart is skipped a beat, just like mama's old time melodies. You sweep me off my feet. I've been the life of the party, and I've known just what to say. But those eyes, they got me stammering, Lord, when you come my way. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Got to get close to you, baby, yeah.
Yeah, so that's Can't Keep My Cool, recorded at the Blockhouse in Bloomington in 2017. Does that seem right?
I think it was 2016. So that came out on a live album, Volume 1, back in 2016. But am I right in thinking you didn't actually play a lot of shows to start with?
We didn't. We did the one-off show in Bloomington, and we all went our separate ways. And then by the grace of Terry, he put out the dang on 45 Smile and started to get some traction, and then put out the record. And I won't recommend anyone to do this. If you're listening to this podcast and you're like trying to get out there, don't do this, because I don't think this is safe nowadays. But back then in 2016, this guy who was trying to get his way up to being an agent hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Shout out to Parker Glenn, and offered us some shows out in California. And I asked Blake and Aaron if they were down, and they were absolutely down. And in a lot of ways, that really felt like the start, even more than that first show out in Bloomington. Because from there, we went and played New York, Union Pool. We did Chicago, Empty Bottle, if I'm not mistaken. And then we did something again in LA, and it was like, by then it was selling out. It was really hard for us to like really come together because we all lived in separate places.
I mean, even though it was never supposed to be like, the reason we all wound up in different cities is because like the making the record like was the finish line. It wasn't the starting line for the band. It was like, what if we could let's record a song. And then Terry was like, well, if you make enough songs, I could make this an LP. And then that became the new goal. And then when we had that, even before the album came out, we decided to play one song. And because at that time we were like obsessed with like obscurity, we were like, well, how cool would it be if we only played one show ever? I have a framed poster of the Indications' first show, and it says one night only because that was truly the idea. was just like, what if we played to 200 people in our kind of like hometown, our home court, which was the Bishop. Shout out to Dan Coleman, who actually, I totally forgot about this memory, but the day after that Bishop show, that first one, he invited us to lunch. And he had already been really encouraging about the rock and roll band that Blake and I had formed, Charlie Patton's War, and really wanted us to pursue that, but we weren't really going to do that. And he sat us down and he said, word for word, he said, "Don't fuck this up," because he saw something special like happening.
As you said, originally one night only. Obviously, you've done tons of shows since. I'm interested to know, do you see this band as ultimately a recording band now or as a live band now? Obviously, you are both, but what do you think is the primary reason for the band at the moment out of those two?
I tell friends all the time, like, my songs are my children. They are, because like you really birth something from inside of you, and you watch it grow and you trim it up and you want it to be really good. And then you kick their ass out the door and send it out into the world to see, is the world going to embrace this thing or not, And through all of that, you find ways to push the song to mature and grow. And I really feel that a lot with a lot of the Indications songs, but I will say, like, there is so much magic watching Blake and Aaron work in the studio. I feel like, like these guys definitely had a head start on me. I didn't know much of anything when it came to workshopping, producing a lot of those things, and watching these two genius of minds work for real. Like, it's been a really great learning lesson for me, and I feel like that's where a lot of the magic really truly happens. So I gotta say both.
Shall we go ahead and hear one of those next pieces of recordings then?
Ask me how I'm doing. Smile and say just fine. And there's no need to ask me, brother, what I've been doing to pass the time. I'll lay awake at night, so falling under your spell. What once a home is again my lonely prison cell. Try to keep my just for a while. Too hard my paint on my smile. Late to say I'm sorry, with the guilt that I can't stand. Upon your chest, your arms are folded, with the bottle in your hand. The devil makes his mark and evil takes his soul. I told you that I'll forgive, but that won't save your soul. No, no. Try to keep my just for a while. Too hard my paint on my smile. Yeah, try to keep my just for a while. Too hard my just paint on my smile. All these people think I'm crazy.
Which mix is that? Is that the 45 mix or is that the LP mix?
I'm getting the 45 mix in my headphones.
Yeah, that felt like the 45 mix, I think. There is something different about them. I can't remember what it is now. One of them has the drums like beefed up or mono or something.
The drums are like just in the left channel or something in the LP mix.
I only notice it when somebody plays Soul Slabs 1 at the shop, and I'll be like, oh, damn, these drums are fucking smacking. What the hell is going on? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that might be my fault.
So so there are two versions of that song then, the 45 mix and then the version that was on the debut album, which Terry put out for you in 2016. You've spoken a bit about playing in Plaid Room, but how did you all meet Terry?
I don't remember how Blake hit me up. Was it like Facebook?
Oh, man. I feel like you probably had your email address on the back of like a Jive Turkey CD.
That sounds right.
And I hit
think
you
I have
up.
my personal phone number on a lot of those CDs too still, which is a bummer.
Yeah, I think I kind of like bullishly hit you up and was like, hey, this Jive Turkey CD is pretty good, but sounds pretty bad.
It was probably,
and I was like, let me cook.
Yeah. No, I remember Blake hit me up in some capacity and was like, hey, I'm in this band. I saw your Silly 45s at my local record store, and I'm coming to Cincinnati to visit family. And it was summertime, and I was like cutting a bunch of drum breaks and with Rob, and you brought some sort of compressor, and I didn't know what a compressor was and barely still do. And you were like, you said you would fix my Hammond organ. You wired out the Hammond M3. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. If you know how to do that, that would be sick, because I don't know how to do that.
I barely knew what I was doing, and I kind of thought I might have broken it for like 30 minutes, and I was like just sweating because I was like, oh my God, I just met this guy, and I'm going to destroy his shit. And but we got it working.
Yeah, and then you emailed me like MP3s of what would basically be I don't know, there was like 4 or 5 or maybe 6 like rough mixes that basically would become the album. And I remember distinctly that I had it on a CD, and I remember my ex-wife was listening to it, and she really liked it. And I remember thinking, well, this band's probably way too pop if she likes it. And now listening back, like the first LP is like the raw LP. And in my like idiotic mind, I was like, yeah, this shit's too poppy.
It has some level of like pop sensibility to it.
Dude, I remember Make a Change being the first song where I was like, man, that is a really catchy hook. And but I was also really attracted to Is There Any Wonder, but that was back before lowrider shit was cool, or as cool as it is now. And I was like, I just like this because of my dad, probably, like because he was a doo-wop head. I kind of like dismissed how much I liked that song, because I was like, no, it has to be up tempo. You know, that was back when like up tempo funk was like that was like the bread and butter. Everything was up. And so Is There Any Wonder, I was like, well, I like it, but I'm sure no one else will like it.
Side note, I've heard Double X referred to as your Grand X.
Ooh.
Yeah, your
damn.
Grand X. Yeah.
That's a vibe. Yeah. Grand X does sound cooler than XX.
Double X is still pretty sick, but
I need to say double and not XX.
X.
Yeah, but that's how we met, and then we put out the first 45, and then like Aaron said, it was sort of like, hey, if you guys got like 8 songs, we could definitely make this an LP.
So what, like, do you remember the record coming out? Where did you feel like things were changing? Where did you feel like, oh, actually there's something more to this? Like this is picking up. People are paying attention.
I can speak to my perspective. It felt like when shops, like when record stores really started to respond, like, hey, I just sold all my copies. Are you going to make more? And I was like, it just came out. What do you mean you sold all your copies? Like that, at least on the retail side of things, it just sort of felt like a response that I hadn't experienced before.
Yeah, I think the live side for me, especially when the first time we played LA, like it wasn't just that it was a full room, but it was like the diversity of the crowd. And I don't just mean like race. It's just like there's age diversity and also just like contextual diversity, I guess. You had industry people there, and then you had these record collecting nerds, and then like you also had these like really tough looking like lowrider dudes, like the cholo community, like this, people who sort of like are from that subculture there at the show as well. And it was like a room full of people who, I don't know, you never see all these people together otherwise.
Yeah, like Aaron and I, having toured in like a rock band a little bit, played shows outside your hometown, and you sell like 5 tickets, and then starting this band and we play LA or San Francisco and we sell 150 tickets. We're like, what?
I mean, dude, we were in our rock and roll band. We were playing every show like for our lives, man. Like we were putting just our whole hearts into shows in Alabama with like literally 5 people in the crowd, just like 5 beefy fucking boys and like a huge ass American flag on the wall of this like dive bar, and everybody got the same show. Like we never really played big rooms with that band, but whether the room was full or like empty, we were like giving our all. So it was crazy to start experiencing that.
I would say mine was just a little bit earlier. I was working in 2016. I was working in a science lab, and my boss was trying to convince me to go back to school to major in public health. And I was really considering it, like looking at universities and looking at what the requirements were going to be and all this kind of stuff. And then I think it was like July 1st or something like that, the record came out. And I would maybe like a couple of days later, I'd be walking home, and nearly every day, some random person would stop me and tell me how incredible the record was. This was out in Bloomington, Indiana. Shout out to Bloomington. And I'd walk past Landlocked, shout out to Landlocked, and there's the record, a picture of me just like plastered. And I played in so many groups. I studied classical music, got my training vocally mainly through gospel singing, but I never experienced anything like that. And then Terry was calling me like, hey man, you want to do some interviews? I'm like, interviews? Like, am I capable of doing that? It was all just a lot to me. And now it all seems so small, but that definitely made me feel like, well, this group has something way special than any other thing that I've been a part of.
Okay, let's hear another song.
Remember the first time that your shadow
Yeah, that's Sea Gets Hotter off our second album.
Yes, from American Love Call, which you released on Dead Oceans in 2019. Well, obviously, by this point, you'd signed with Dead Oceans, and this was your first, proper release. They'd reissued their first record, but this was the first, album from day one with them. And by this point, you're obviously a lot more well-known. Did you feel pressure going into this record? Things had built up so much for you by the time you got to this one. Was it quite daunting to make it and put it out there?
Like, from a songwriting perspective, I feel like no, because we started out as such like novices in terms of like writing soul music. We had so much room to grow. And I think we were moving from this kind of like deep soul, hard funk type thing into more like our listening was changing more into like vocal group sound stuff, and we were learning more about like how to sing and arrange vocal harmony. And after the first record came out, we realized we could have multiple lead vocalists even on the same song, so we had so much room to grow in terms of our like writing and production that I didn't feel the pressure in that way. I think the pressure, at least for me, was when we got into the studio, because we were recording at Studio G in Brooklyn, which it's expensive. I mean, we were given a real recording budget from Dead Oceans, which shouts to Dead Oceans for that. And for re-releasing the first album when we really thought everyone who ever wanted to hear that record had already heard it. And Dead Oceans was like, no, you guys are wrong. And we totally were. But it's stressful to be like, okay, well, your entire budget gives you like what was it, like 10 days in the studio, or 14 maybe? What do you think, Blake?
Coming from like the first record, which Legendary had like a sub $500 budget, to I don't even remember what our budget was for the second record, but many times multiple that the $500. I mean, the kind of anxiety is that the expectations is that you're going to grow the band a relative multiple. So it definitely felt high pressure when you're starting with nothing and you have zero expectations, to having any level of expectations was definitely like a anxiety trigger.
We had a production schedule laid out so precisely. We had this like Google Sheets like spreadsheet of all the like musicians and like all the things we need to add to each track. We still do this when we record, but for this one it was just like by the hour. And I remember eating sushi with one foot. We couldn't eat in the studio, so I was like holding the door open with one foot to the control room and like eating out the door so I could listen to takes, because I didn't want to miss like a single thing. There is something kind of thrilling about reaching that point of like hyper focus where you're just like so locked in for this condensed moment in time. But it's funny listening back to American Love Call, like there are definitely production choices I like that now we have continued to grow as producers, so it's fun to hear those early recordings.
So Sea Gets Hotter in particular has taken on like a bit more of a life of its own in the last couple of years. Huge kind of streamer for you as well. What's it been like seeing that song kind of go a little crazy?
It's a pleasant surprise, because when we were picking out singles for American Love Call, Sea Gets Hotter definitely wasn't one that comes to mind. But, it really makes me so happy that it's getting its love in its just day, because I really feel like that song encapsulates everything about who we are as a band. It really gives you the variety of who we are, the showcase of what we do. And even going back a little bit in the conversation, but even like doing this song live, it has evolved into being like one of the highlights of the show. Shout out to our keyboard player, Steve, who like really brings it. I'm just like sitting back here listening to Blake and Aaron talk about making this record, and the writing part was way more fun than the recording part for me, for sure. That recording was stressful as fuck, for real.
I remember after those 2 years and after American Love Call came out, I remember citing those 2 years to dozens and dozens of bands that would come to me and be like, well, how did they do it? How come they're so whatever? And I was like, yeah, y'all, but guess what? They were grinding for like 2 years. And it's like that, I think that gets, I think a lot of bands really overlook the value of that. And I know fiscally it's even harder contemporarily to do that as a startup band. But that, I don't think those 2 years can be overlooked as far as like where you guys are at now. It's like you paid with your sleep.
I mean, that whole 2018, I was living out of pretty much this black duffel bag that Blake had got for me. I literally packed up everything into Blake's car and drove to Chicago, lived in a freaking slept on a air mattress over there. Then we drove all my stuff to Aaron's place in New York City, and I slept in Aaron's room on Aaron's bed, like really grinding it out.
That's kind of
Yeah.
that's kind of how I think about it these days, is like we started in like the basement and basement shows, and like on this last tour we just did, we were touring in a double-decker bus, which was just like, you can really appreciate every change in comfort level, in standard of living, every win, because like that is really like where we started.
I think about a photo I have of all of when everyone crashed with me on that tour at my 2-bedroom apartment, and I was my double ex-wife and stepdaughter. Like 3 of us could barely live there and not have to just like stare at each other all the time. And I was like, then you pile like 7 full adult humans who also were not that good at Diddy Kong Racing. Like
That was not a fair fight. The thing is, with the rock and roll band though, we literally used to get to this point where we would play until we like played a really good song where the crowd was like on our side, and then we would be like, hey, if anyone wants to put us up tonight, that would be like really huge. And like decent amount of times there'd be like one person, some jam band festival goer, who would just be like, sure, you can like crash on our carpet. So honestly, that night I remember staying in the bunk bed, like the lower of your like bunk bed thing.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that was big. That's comfort.
Okay, let's hear another piece of music.
That's how I really feel. Gonna love you, baby, yes I
That's Don't You Know from American Love Call. What year was that? 2019?
19. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of your songs are love songs, and your album in this instance is called American Love Call. I want to talk about that title a little bit because it feels like it was a very specific choice. And 2019, midway through Trump's presidency, am I wrong in thinking that you're kind of putting out a call here to America to embrace love again? Is that what this is?
Absolutely. In a way, the title kind of sparked some inspiration from Langston Hughes, I think Duke Ellington, A Creole Love Call. This hearkening or this longing for something that feels good to oneself. I really felt like whenever we were bringing up album titles, I brought that one to the table because I just felt like my background, Aaron's background, culture, traditions, Blake's background, his culture, his traditions, we're all so different from one another. But here we are, like, coming together, making something that truly comes from music that we really love deeply. I felt like it was so American. You're not going to get this kind of thing in many other places but America. Like, let's come together, you know? That was what I was feeling with it. And I'm glad the guys felt it.
Is it one where when you came in with that title, Durand, everyone was just in agreement, yeah, that's it. That's what we should go with then?
We deliberated for a while, but it just felt, we had a whole list of titles, a whole list, but that one just felt right.
It felt the most optimistic because I think we were just exhausted, and I think we were kicking around titles that were just like, we're fucking tired and this shit's really hard. And our manager was just like, you guys shouldn't have such a bummer album title. And I was like, that's actually a good idea.
I now have to ask, what were some of those bummer titles? Do you remember them?
There's a document somewhere. We have a very democratic system of album title names where you list your first, second, third preference. Because you can see when you lay out everybody on one side and all the titles, and then you're like, all right, well, most people feel strongest about this one, and you kind of like this one. It's a good way to do it.
Is that your approach then? You're a very democratic band overall. Like everybody joins. Other than your album titles, how are you sort of making decisions about track orders and who gets final say over certain things?
It is a democratic process. We're like a consensus-based coalition. I think thankfully as we grow and continue to grow, we are able to grow to get like in the same shape, in the same direction. And I think like on this new album, Flowers, those decisions actually, it was easy to navigate because there's a lot of trust in everybody's creative vision. And even if it's not a track order that I might have come up with on my own, there's enough trust in seeing the logic and whatever that you can kind of make it work.
I want to talk a bit more about the breadth of the fan base as well. Durand, you were saying just a moment ago about how there's a lot of breadth to the sort of demographic within the band, and then the fan base is very wide as well. Aaron, you talked a lot about that earlier on that first show when you were out in LA, and a real mix. I suppose maybe this is a hard question for you to answer, but because you're in on it, but why do you think it is that your music has such broad appeal?
I think it's because we try to go for something timeless. I think oftentimes we get like a retro or a vintage label stamped next to what we do, but it's not. Like, we are all millennials. We have all been influenced by the R&B that came after soul, the funk, the hip hop and R&B, and the rock and roll, everything in between. A lot of that really affects our music as much as the soul music and all the stuff prior to. And I think that the goal is not to make something that feels like it's an exact niche of an era, but something that no matter what decade you're in, you could put it on and people would enjoy it.
Nice one. Let's hear another song from that record then.
Let's go cruising to the park, cruising after dark. Let's go out, slow it down to 5 on an endless drive. Let's go out, baby, let's cruise together. With you next to me, maybe we'll cruise forever with your ecstasy. Someday we'll go streets we don't know. For now we'll just glide, enjoy the ride. So let's go cruising to the park, cruising after dark. Let's go out, baby. Slow it down to 5 on an endless drive.
That's Cruising to the Park. I've been using the same snare drum since I was like 14. And that is one of the only recordings I've ever played on where I'm using a different snare drum. Fun fact.
But why?
It just-
What was the choice there?
Is that one
I-
Studio G2?
No, that was in Russian Recording in Bloomington. I can very distinctly remember doing that drum take in like that smaller, isolated like drum room off the live room, which was great actually because like Russian gets great sounds, but that live tracking room the ceilings are so high. It's pretty reflective in there, which is like not ideal for the drumming we especially were into at that time. So they had this small kind of dead like vocal booth room where we crammed the drum kit in, which I think actually really did shape the sound of that drum kit because you're hearing a really dead tight like drum image.
Yeah. I remember that 45 because this was after American Love Call, right?
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
Lucy. This is like this is a standalone single. It's not
This
on
felt-
it's not on
This
that
felt
record.
like this track felt like a formal courtship of the lowrider community. This one did feel like kind of like a love letter to that scene though, you know, and the video too. Like the video was like beautiful.
Yeah, we're not in that music video. It's just like shots of the LA lowrider community. It was shot by a community member too, which was really special. It felt really collaborative because he honestly he was getting shots of neighborhoods we had never been to. And it is cool that the video is our video, but it's almost like not ours in a way. It's just that video belongs to the lowrider community.
You released a different version of it as well, didn't you? Cruising to the Park, Parque, with Ela Bamba. What sort of prompted that to happen?
I think recording songs in like another language I think it's been done across like a lot of pop music from like the 70s and stuff. When a band had like a really hot song, they were like, okay, let's do the Spanish version. And similar to the video, it was like we wanted to just show respect to our fan base, but it didn't really feel authentic just to try to figure out how to mouth out the Spanish in our version. And we had done a tour with Ilabamba as support, and we brought the idea to her, and it actually went really well, and I couldn't be happier with how that turned out. I think it's a really cool version of the song.
Agreed. Shouts to Luz. Ilabamba, like that whole tour, like we were just so blown away by their performance before our set, like every night.
Have you got any more collaborations or anything in mind that you might do in the future?
We've kind of like made different efforts to like do a feature or a collab on an Indications song, and it's just never quite panned out. We have a lot of creative voices within the band, so then trying to insert another level of creativity is just something we haven't quite figured out, but I think we're still passionate about like how do we make this work. And so nothing on the books quite yet, but I would love to see it happen.
There's a rap remix out there that's in the scrapyard of Morning in America. That was never finished, never released.
Yeah. There's also a song that we did with Black Alicious. We did a hook with them.
True.
That never came out either.
I forgot about that. Yeah. That was right when what's his name passed away.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of shelved it. We could probably fill up an EP at this point of like collaborations that we never finished.
I think, man, hip hop is always a hard thing to do in this space, because I feel like there's a lot of it that happens that is, in my opinion, corny and cheesy, and you never want that. You want it to feel cool and authentic and like real. You don't want it to feel like Hamburger Helper, like just add rap sort of vibe. No shade on Hamburger Helper, but
dude, Terry, great idea for a Colemine comp. It's Hamburger Helper kind of like design, and it's called Just Add Rap, and you just get the worst features on Colemine tracks.
Dude,
that's
a $100 idea. Easily.
What's weird is that, like, for as big as the Roots are, I don't really know of another like rap band that really came close to reaching, I don't know, that level of success. I don't know why the universe just had room for the one, and that's it.
I can say from a listener perspective, I hear hip hop with sampled drums. Like, it's really, Roots are the only band that you could be like, oh yeah, this is dope to listen to. My lens for hip hop is always cool samples. It's really hard. It's like threading a needle. It's almost like you can't try.
No, exactly. Yes, it's like this thing. It's like those optical illusions where, like, when you look at the dot, it like moves. You have to just kind of like see it in the periphery.
Yeah, it'll have to be somebody that just like illegally samples you guys, and you're like, damn, that's sick. I'm not trying to. I mean, maybe I am trying to put that in the universe. There it is. It's in the universe.
Okay, let's hear another piece of music.
Let's relax and run and groove and let your soul feel the fire. If
That is Witchy from Private Space in 2021. And as you can clearly hear, listeners, there is definitely a much more disco sound on this record. And the cover art, I have to say, was absolutely like on the money for that sound as well. So it's not this like complete step away from what you're doing by any stretch, but it's definitely a big evolution in sound there. And I'm really interested to know what prompted you to move in that direction.
Just speaking for me, like by that time we had started touring Europe with regularity and getting to dig in the record stores in Amsterdam and Paris especially. I was finally wrapping my head around like synthesizer in more organic contexts. The French boogie stuff, Dutch synth pop, and the Italian disco stuff. And we were doing a lot of DJ sets at the time too, which is also like this incredible, like you get immediate feedback from a dance floor. I think even in a different way that when you're playing shows, because when you're playing shows, it's kind of like, I don't know, they clap, like they have to clap at the end. I've never seen somebody fuck up a song so bad that nobody clapped at the end. There's even like polite, there's like polite applause, like that happens. But with a DJ set, it's like you drop the needle on a song and like the dance floor either like energizes. It's this kind of like macro organism. It either like comes to life or it deflates and diffuses. And a lot of times like the slow stuff that we love, it's just not like, doesn't do it on a dance floor specifically. So I was definitely falling in love with some of that more up-tempo stuff. And even like the flip side of the lowrider scene is like boogie. West Coast funk is different than, when they say funk out here, it's different than like the James Brown funk. It's synth heavy. It's just West Coast funk is its own beast. So you're right. We were able to access like this kind of more disco style, but keep it authentic to us, because I think you do get the Chutes and Ladders style like connections between these genres.
We spent the first two records kind of figuring out how to do a late 60s kind of sound. And I remember when I started working at Numero Group and like they were working on Purple Snow, and I listened to that Minneapolis sound compilation and listening to a bunch of that stuff. And the first time I listened to it, I was like, this is cheesy. This sucks. And it took me a little while to like acquire a taste for it. And I think disco in general is like, there's a lot of cheesy disco out there. And it felt like just like a new challenge for the band of like, how do we make this sound like us and how do we make it good?
So it's interesting you wrote that one during COVID, and obviously a very dark time for many people, but you end up making what is essentially quite a party record, really, a very joyous record. It's almost like a juxtaposition, really, to what was happening globally at the time. Was that purposeful? Did you sort of go in thinking, that's what we need to do right now?
Yeah, for sure. I'll back up a little bit. The whole writing process for Private Space was just a lot, because we would meet every Thursday and we would do these little check-ins. And sometimes it would just be us just talking about life. Other times we would try to like write songs together or bring songs that maybe Blake had made a track to and maybe I wrote some lyrics to. But by the end of that whole thing, there were, I'd say at least about like 20 songs. And we had to pick which ones we wanted to fit on the record. And I think that we really wanted something that would make people feel good in the dark time. We knew that the world was going to eventually open back up, and whenever we would get back to our fans, we wanted it to be a celebration of sorts, a party in some sense. And I think that's where a lot of those tunes in Private Space like really encapsulates that vibe.
I was going to say, I remember you guys didn't you guys do demos here in like before the pandemic?
Yep, we did. Yes.
Yeah, it would have been, we played like a New Year's show, and then I think at the end of 2019, and then flew straight to Loveland and recorded 4 demos, all of which ended up on the record.
Except for one. Hold on.
Oh, right.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I just remember I knew something was going to be distinctly different because I was downstairs, because you guys were all like self-contained. Like you guys were just upstairs running the studio, and I remember being downstairs and I came in and you guys were recording one night and I just heard like, and I just heard like this 4 on the floor and I was like, what the fuck is going on upstairs? What are these boys up to? And Gloria, the lady that ran the candy store, she came over to me the week after and she was like, I just love when you have bands here. It's so fun. When I come in, when I leave work at night and I hear them, she's like, it's so fun. I was like, God, it's the cutest, most small town, wonderful thing ever.
Man, fun little anecdote about that session is I remember that you had a very sensitive fire alarm that would go off if the steam in the bathroom. And I had fallen asleep and then the fire alarm went off. And then I wake up to Aaron standing over me going, everything's okay.
Here's the reason why I woke you up saying everything is fine, because there's no nice way to wake up to, because it was like flashing lights too. It's not just the fire alarm, it's like strobe plus the fire alarm, and you were not moving. I was like, surely he's gonna wake up. No, just out. So I was like, all right, I have to wake you up. But that seemed like a really scary way to wake up. So I thought maybe if it's shaking you while saying everything's fine, that maybe that would kind of like ease the transition from sleep to like chaos.
From sleep into waking nightmare, kind of.
You guys would be happy to know that we have implemented, because what happens when the fire alarm, so first of all, as long as you turn the exhaust fan on, it's all good. But it's a hard thing to remember because the exhaust switchboard doesn't make any sense. Bob and I have implemented a safety just for this, because it's happened I don't know how many times. So what would happen is the fire alarm company would call us before the alarm goes off. And if Bob and I could remember the safe word, the alarm wouldn't go off. But inevitably, we can never remember like the code. They're like, what's your code? And I'm like, please don't send the fire department. What's your code? Please, for the love of God, don't send the fire department. Everything is fine. It's just a shower. And then they're like, but what's the code? And they send the fire department every single time. So now every week we have an admin meeting for the company. And every week, the first item of the agenda is what the safe word is, so that we say it every week. And so every week. It's not
a good system.
It's not a good system because they were like, what's the code? I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a terrible system. Like, I'm telling you not to send the fire department because it's not a fire. Please don't. And they did.
On that note, let's move on to another song.
Ride or Die.
Ride or die, baby.
It is Ride or Die from Private Space. Aaron, you said earlier that it's like when it comes to titles and things like that, it's a very democratic process. But I want to talk a little bit more maybe about the songwriting process and how you all approach that. Do you write as a band in the rehearsal space? Do you write privately and bring it to the band? Is it a mixture? Yeah, what happens when you're starting with a new record?
We've done it all of those ways, every configuration in between. There are songs that all of us have brought to the table in different stages of completion, and then we sort of tweak it as a group as much as it needs to, or as little as it needs to. Durand brought the vocal demo for Don't You Know that was like laid out with the harmonies that are pretty much the arrangement that you hear on the final record. Or Blake brings instrumental ideas. I brought instrumental ideas, lyrics, and stuff like that. I think these days, we've been enjoying sort of like almost waiting to a certain extent until we're all in the same place and building stuff from scratch. Just because like that's how the project kind of like started in the first place. And it's nice to return to that sense of play and of like exploration, of like discovering together.
Durand, when you're writing, Aaron mentioned that you brought this vocal hook in. What's your process? Are you like recording ideas into your phone? Are you like building stuff up at home? What might be your way?
Songwriting is such a strange thing to me. I went to college. I got a bachelor's in music ed, a master's in classical music. I didn't think I was going to be songwriting, make plans and watch the universe laugh at you. But songwriting is such like a strange and still a very new thing for me. And I feel like, I don't know like how it happens or how it works, but sometimes it just feels like my brain is open to ideas and something like a radio frequency will flow in and it might be humming, I might be singing, I might be thinking about it in my head. But if I don't take my phone and like record that shit right then and there, then it's going to be out the window. It's going to feel like a dream that you remember, but you can't quite, you know what I'm saying? A lot of what I've lately been doing with the Indications is just once I just catch a melody, I'll just try to immediately put it on my phone. Sometimes I will find the chords that go with it, and I'm thinking about our new Flowers record. Like sometimes I'll find the chords that'll go with it, like Really Want to Be With You, and then other times I'll just have a hook, like Paradise, and we'll just bring just this little demo to the guys. So it really varies for me.
Is there any song in particular from across your catalogue that you have all got super distinct memories about the writing of it? Maybe one in particular that you all wrote together that felt like a super magical moment. I'm sure there's quite a few, but if there's any in particular that stand out.
So many great moments. For some reason, the first one that comes to me is being in Chicago in the winter. Okay, I'm going to tell a story about smoking weed, which I don't normally talk about any drug use. I'm not known for I don't smoke. It's like, there was this window in time where I was like, did smoke weed. Now I don't.
I know this.
Sorry, Mom, Dad, if you listen to this. We like smoked, and then I was so high that like things were like echoing in my brain while we were working on this idea of listen to your heart. I was hearing these like cascading harmonies because I was like trying so hard not to pass out. And I was just in my brain just hearing the listen to your heart, to your heart, to your heart. That is just sort of like my brain clinging to consciousness and just like being so geeked that we were just like making this thing out of nothing. Like there was like writing songs is crazy because like Durand was saying, it's like you're kind of like pulling something from out of you. Or like Lee Fields, whatever. That's a different thing. We talk about the time Lee Fields gave us his philosophy on life. But Anyway, that's one for me.
For me, Make a Change. Writing that song right there. We did it in Bloomington in the basement, hillside. It was a Sunday night. I'll never forget, it was a Sunday night. And usually I would come and hang out with Blake and Aaron back then. This had to be like 2013. Had to be 2013 or 14. But usually around then I would hang out with Blake and Aaron on Sunday nights because that was like my free night. And maybe I would hang out with them from like 7 to 10. But this night we just started writing Make a Change. I didn't leave that basement till the sun was coming up, till 6 o'clock in the morning. And I literally have chills right now because that was like the first time I really understood what it means to be produced as a singer. Because when I tell you Aaron was working me, baby, he was pushing me. And you know what? He was pushing me because he knew my potential. He knew what I could do. Because back then I was like, yeah, I'm a singer, like kind of like, am I a singer? Like I wasn't really stepping in it like I should. And he really pulled something out of me. And Blake was like at the helm, like really doing all the sound stuff. And yeah, like Aaron was producing that bitch, man. I never forget going home, like with my heart just absolutely shaken by that. That was a super special one.
Blake, any in particular that stand out for you?
I think of like the writing sessions for Private Space and like the chunk of songs we did at Colemine, and I think Reach Out was like a really special one where we kind of had like a little heart-to-heart moment and then like sat down and wrote that song. And I was really excited about that song, and we had just like a really nice discussion about, friendship and being there for one another and that kind of thing. And it was kind of like a turning point where, to work on lyrics together is like a very vulnerable thing because you have to just throw out ideas and be okay with it not being the idea. And where, lyrics are like very like this personal thing, and you can like have this like idea that speaks to you emotionally and it feels like the right thing, and someone can just be like, nah. And I think that was like, an experience for me of being okay with just like throwing out ideas and someone taking one word of it and then changing everything else. And yeah, because I never really thought of myself as like a lyricist, but I think to keep the session going, sometimes you just have to keep going with ideas and stuff.
I remember that demo session being super fun just because it felt like the Indications is like that's how we learned how to be a record label. It was the first project where it was like, oh, this is taking on a life of its own. Once it gets past this point, we do not know what to do. Like, we don't know what the next step is. Big shout out to Chris and Phil, because we had conversations that were not that cool with a lot of other labels around that time. Dead Oceans was like a great partner to like learn how to be a record label alongside. And so those Private Space demos that Blake was just talking about, though, that time period was cool because the project had gone to a pretty big high point, and yet here are our homies, still back in Loveland setting off fire alarms.
I love the fact that you basically, no matter like how big the band has got and it's like really, really blown up, but you're still, to use a kind of cheesy phrase, but like still keeping it real in that way. And I suppose that's why the records have remained at such consistent quality as well, because you've never lost sight of who you are and how you want to make this music, right?
Yeah.
Because the ride or dying. Because it's been so long.
Okay, well, let's hear. You've remembered all your songs from your records. I think you're going to be okay with the new one. Let's hear one from the new record.
Since you've been gone, got so many things
it's never changing. Like birds in the spring that return just to sing. You're back in the town that made you. So pick me up, drive around, telling everybody that we're back in town. We'll ride all night and we'll hit the spots. Ain't too much, but it's all we got. Pick me up, drive around, telling everybody that we're back in town. We'll ride all night and we'll hit the spots. Ain't too much, but it's all we got. That girl Billy, she moved out to Philly with dreams of a job on the big stage. Now old boy Benny, yeah, he married Jenny. Now they're on the spot by the freeway. Remember Lil Sadie, well, she had a baby. Throwing the tie up his laces. Memories fade and the roads get repaved, but I never forget the faces. So pick me up, drive around, telling everybody that we're back in town. We'll ride all night and we'll hit the spots. Ain't too much, but it's all we got. Pick me up, drive around, telling everybody that we're back in town. We'll ride all night and we'll hit the spots. Ain't too much, but it's all we got. Pick me up, drive around, telling everybody that we're back in town. We'll ride all night and hit the spots. Ain't too much, but it's all we got.
Yeah, that's Been So Long from Flowers.
Yes, Flowers, the new record, coming out in summer 2025. So you must be really excited about it. It's actually been quite a long time between records this time, though, right? There's 4 years since Private Space came out. So what have you been doing in these 4 years, and how have we ended up here with Flowers?
Right after 2020, what year was that? I want to say it was like 2023. I think the beginning of 2023. I like to call my little sabbatical. I went on a spent a little time to focus on myself, and I put out a little solo record. I think a lot of that time was not just to put out art, but put out something that put me out of my comfort zone a little bit, something that kind of pushed me a little bit, something that made me feel vulnerable. I've heard James Baldwin talk about vulnerability being like one of the most ultimate forms of strength. And I just had to peel some layers off of the onion, and I'm really thankful for the guys because they allowed me the grace to do that. And I feel it, in some ways or another, it felt like somewhat of a transformation, somewhat of an evolution for me. And I really feel like I came back to the Indications a different person, way more assured of myself, and I could give way more of myself as an artist when it came down to us in the creativity aspects of the record, in the songwriting, in the production of it.
Yeah, I think the kind of like theme of like friendship has kind of been a fun way to deviate from like a love song. So on American Love Call, we have this song, That's What I Know About You. And although it could be perceived as a love song, I think that's a lot of what Reach Out is about, finding the bond within your friends and your partnerships and stuff like that. And I think I don't think it was necessarily like intended to be like autobiographical as in terms of like the band, and while we've been away from each other, it was really, we were playing around with this idea of revisiting your hometown and how things change and how some things stay the same. And it's a really fun kind of theme. We all have moved away from our hometowns and then come back, and sometimes whether it's 3 months or 3 years, you come back and you're like, wow, I can't believe they put a whole condo complex where the Blockbuster used to be, or something like that. And then sometimes you're like, man, I can't believe this thing is exactly the way it was when I was 8 years old.
Aaron, you have put out 2 solo records as well. One of them came out very recently, so you've been busy with that as well then.
In 2021, I had the opportunity to work with Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys on a record, and Blake and Durand insisted that I go for it. It's a big thing to be a sort of one of the lead singers in a band, and then to also be putting out stuff under your own name, and the stress about like what I don't want to detract from what we're doing or like whatever. I mean, they were super encouraging to me to take that opportunity. And, I've said it before in interviews, but this band, I think, has always been a collective. I think just in the interim since Private Space, we leaned into that with Durand's solo stuff, my solo stuff. Blake is now putting out music. Well, Steve Okonski, our keyboard player, has like a jazz trio project, and there's cross-pollination too. Like I produced a record for 79.5 that had a duet feature where Durand sang lead, and I'm drumming on Steve's like jazz trio, even though I insist all the time, I tell him I'm not a jazz drummer. I think this band as a collective has blossomed, and I also think that's part of the idea behind this concept of flowers, is to get individually they're beautiful, and together it's something even more beautiful and different and special.
Wow, I love that. Let's hear one more song from this record, and then I want to talk a little bit more about that record and about what your hopes for it are and what's coming up.
You next to me, wish that I could make you see. Swear to God it's destiny, but I can't lie, no. And after just a drink or two, I can't help but tell the truth. Wish that you already knew, and hoping that you feel it too. I just can't lie, there's no disguise in this love of mine. Trust and you see my heart open wide. Yeah, and that's just how I feel about you, baby. Think about you now. I got to find a way to make you stay, 'cause I really wanna be with you. Really wanna be with you. I got to move fast, got to make it last, 'cause I really wanna be with you. Really wanna be with you. Do I cry? Is it pain or joy in me? My heart is pounding restlessly. I close my eyes but I can't sleep. I want to tell you everything, but why? Baby, oh baby, oh there is no doubt I can't go without. Oh no, 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 I can't go without your loving embrace. The smile on your face is so beautiful. The sound of your voice inviting me, guiding me through it all. And that's just how I feel about you, baby. Think about you now. I got to find a way to make you stay, 'cause I really
That is really wanna be with you.
So you all must be super excited about this record. I mean, it sounds absolutely amazing. It sounds to me like you had a lot of fun making it. We were talking a little bit before the song that coming back together after this time, your analogy about the flowers, it just feels like this is bigger than the sum of its parts, really. I guess I want to hear about what your kind of ambitions are for this record. How are you hoping it's going to connect with people? What are you hoping that people find in this record?
Hearing Ride or Die actually close to this one, because both of those songs feature a really specific drum hallmark, which is like floor tom layered with snare. You hear it on tons of Al Green records. That's like the signature Al Green sound. But on Ride or Die, it's like the floor tom is like so loud, so like heavy. I wonder, boom. On Really Want to Be With You, it's much more subtle. And I think that is sort of like a microcosm for me of this record, and this evolution is like we're learning lessons, and then I think we're applying them on this record with a more mature, more like deft hand. And yeah, I hope people love the record, but on this one, I feel like not since our first album have I made a record thinking so little about the audience. I think the world of the audience, but like in terms of just like making stuff with the audience in mind, like this record for me was made for us, for Blake, for Durand, for Steve, for Mike, and for myself.
In terms of like ambition, I feel like I've, in a protective mode, I've always been like kind of low expectations. You know, you expect nothing, you gain everything is like a mantra I kind of keep coming back to in terms of like, commercial reach for a record or something. But I think what I was thinking about when we're working on this record is like strengthening the bond we have within the band as collaborators, and putting in a lot of energy to understand each other's instincts and stuff like that, which has been, I think it's been really helpful to listen to each other's solo records and be removed from that creative process and hear what we each do when we aren't in the room, and strengthen that creative unity. This is the first record we've done since the debut record with very few outside collaborators. So we're going back to just like, okay, what happens when it's just the 3-4 of us in the room together, and figuring out how to make that process as like smooth and just natural as possible.
So I am going to say I want to see this democratic process in play right now, live on the podcast, and I want the three of you to tell me which song, other than the two we've already picked from the new record, would be the song that you would love to play the show out with.
Ooh. I would say Paradise. That's my vote.
Well, I thought you were going to say Rust and Steel. I was so sure you were going to say Rust and Steel. I love Paradise. I'm super down with that. Snoop?
Yeah, that's a great one. That's one of the handful of songs that kind of started in the home studio we wrote here. And one of the parts of the process that I think made this record really special was if we had a demo and we liked it, we kind of just rolled with it. And so this was one that we demoed here in my studio, and we just took it to the finish line at some other studios, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been fantastic chatting with you all, and I hope it's been fun kind of going back and listening to some of these old records. And I don't know if you do that much and listen to your old music or whatever, but it's been fascinating hearing about, the making of it and how you've evolved as a band. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You have been listening to Secretly Frequencies. I'm Tom Davies, my co-host was the inimitable Terry Cole, and our guests this time were Durand Jones, Aaron Frazer and Blake Rhein from Durand Jones and the Indications. You can hear all the songs from today's episode on our playlists via the link in the show notes. And do check back in the Secretly Frequencies archive for shows with Ghostly International, Jag Jaguar, Numero Group, Sharon Van Etten, Unknown Mortal Orchestra, so many more.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. The Secretly Society podcast is an original production of the Secretly Group. The project manager for the Secretly Society podcast is Coco Segaler. Robbie Morris is the creative director. Look out for more from the Secretly Society wherever you get your podcast.
This is